It is currently 8:10 a.m. on March 4th. This is the maintenance of engineered light. So you see the concentrated light that was occurring while the entity was engaging in the outward guise of a sunrise, which is not a sunrise. It's impossible that the sun would be rising in alignment to the living room window of 1806, apartment 6 in Los Angeles, with regard to the ongoing documentation of where the entity has maintained a light source, not only at the beginning of the day, but until the end of the day. And also the fact that sunlight does not do that, does not magnify. It does not create upright shadows that are enlarged in size. It would not also reach into the depths, creating multiple shadows and whatnot. This is the engineered light that's inside of the private space. That's legally relevant. But you're also understanding, like I stated in the living room, it's always present. So you have what is remaining engineered light. My shadow is upright, speaking to the trajectory of what is engineered light. It's magnified in size. And it's also creating multiple shadows. My shadow is blurred because there's more than one. This is engineered light that you can see it as it's casted onto the objects in my room. And then you have what's the shadow speaking to the television that's in front and the position of the shadow. This is everything that you can pay attention to with regard to the engineered light that's maintained in the environment. The entity engages in the pattern of sweeping that directed light into the hallway. You're going to pay attention to the placement of the directed light all over the property as well. That's why I was showing you what's occurring inside, shooting through my closed blinds in my living room, dragging it in the to the outside of the living room from the hallway. And you're also looking what's going on the buildings as though it's reaching through the buildings. It's rising up, all right, I guess high enough in order to move farther down across the outside of building 1818, but yet it's reaching into the windows so it's either rising up or it's rising down. I just want you to pay attention to what is nothing other than touching the surfaces surrounding with engineered light. None of it is sunlight, never occurring. It's also never occurring because this would not be the sun that's remaining here from the duration of the day. Today, 6:30 in the morning, you have it as late as 5:30 in the evening outside of this bedroom window, as I documented last week. The entity is engaging in what is the maintenance of this engineered light, which is always present, speaking to the maintenance of what is the pattern of conduct. And I want to document that sex offender going by the name of Carlo Lopez. I captured his vehicle, which is speaking to his presence. But I want to be clear, federal group stalking and monitoring is not an individualized crime. So what Carlo Lopez is doing on behalf of the entity. Carlo Lopez is not present as an individual. Carlo Lopez is the state, a vicarious state actor who is present in the specific environment, the facilitating venue where the government is maintaining illegal presence, conducting illegal surveillance, engaging in what is group stalking. They are stalking via the people. That sex offender, going by the name of Carlo Lopez, in the same way that the people of the state are, engaged in what is ongoing surveillance, listening to me undress, listening to me remove my clothes and wash my body, everything that I'm doing inside of as I'm doing it. And I want to be clear, it's not ordinary surveillance. These are the demon possessed. So every subtle movement that you make, inaudible to the human ear, is that which the demon possessed who are surrounding in the specific environment are aware of. It is highly, highly perverted what they engage in, they being the demon possessed. I am speaking to a federal prosecution serving the criminal system that the demon possessed are engaged in. The demon possessed happen to be a public entity that doesn't have a constitutional basis to invade your privacy. It's legally relevant that they are employing satanic methods in doing so. It's going toward the prosecution for terrorism. All right, a psychopath that's practicing these weird methods of what is serving a criminal system of targeting, right? Doing so in what are specifically designed to be ways that you wouldn't be able to supposedly prove. But all of that has been debunked. But in addition to that, I want to be clear, the demon possessed, that is the people of the state and the state itself, engage in what is real-time hovering surveillance with regard to every physical movement. I want to be clear that, and that's also shown through the behavioral pattern, through the pattern of conduct. Every move is followed with audible activity, every new movement, okay? The words that I speak is I speak to what they don't want to reveal, what they don't want revealed, meaning their demon possession. The entity shows hostility by flashing light out of nowhere, okay? It's already impossible light, but then the entity will just have light just flashing across it. Not only do the entity loses in this regard because it wants to be a distraction, but it's ongoing proof to you that yes, they are demons. That is the demonic that you're witnessing. It is absolutely impossible, that which is inexplicable, irreconcilable, unnatural, impossible, hence the terms that I use to describe it. So I want to be clear, this is a sex offender, Carlo Lopez. So this is how you are able to get down from the entity that's monitoring you. But the people of the state will face a prosecution, and many of them who I have documented specifically will be named, including by address, okay? The entity is engaging in and this is piercing through the false premise. Again, the entity thinking that so many are doing it and the target individual will never be able to identify, will never know, will never be believed. No, that's not true. And I have gone so far as to document many who will be identified and they will be prosecuted as the sex offender that they are. While I'm in the shower, while I'm physically nude, while I'm moving about, getting dressed, I am looking at the ongoing presence, the ongoing evidence of the fact that my privacy is being invaded. It's a matter of public privacy, public information, including Carlo, who is group stalking in the specific environment. And doing so under the malicious guise of being an employee. He's a group stalker at the facilitating venue. And he's a sex offender who was simultaneously doing so while downstairs in relevant position. All right, his license plate and the presence of his vehicle is on the premises. I want to be clear, when he drives away and he leaves, he does not cease to be a part of the same exact entity. Understand that. Okay, so do not forget the analysis of federal group stalking and monitoring. You don't cease to be a part of the entity just because you're not physically in the presence. The entity is acting as an ongoing group. Cyclical stalking, cyclical presence, maintenance of permanent, perpetual presence. The faces are many, okay? So you can identify one, but it is indistinct with regard to the same group. Understand that. Carlo is present, engaging in the specific sex offense. All right, engaging in criminal surveillance, and I want to note that because this is going toward the prosecution. But I want to be clear, this is the entity that's present, the entity that's working for Speaker Companies. Speaker Companies is a part of the entity. It's a third-party corrupt business. It's a malicious means whereby the entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct, and that's the employer. That's the level of malice, okay? Reference Universal Waste Incorporated, what they did this morning, what they continuously do. That's the pattern of conduct, all right? And this sex offender is present while I'm physically indisposed, while I'm in the shower, washing my body, getting out, necessarily getting dressed, putting on underwear. All of these details are within the mindset of the sex offender, Carlo Lopez, who was in relevant position in the specific environment. Understand that. That is something that the entity, that the state, that the group stalkers that live in relevant position have no business being made aware of. Do you understand the massive sex offense? That is the entity that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, knowing every step that I am engaging in as I do it, which is also, by the way, why they engage in what are amplifying plane activity or helicopter activity and pacing in and around the environment as I'm capturing video and capturing images, which is tying together the pattern of conduct, which is already established. It's already established. It's literally a defeated purpose what the entity engages in, but I need you to understand what their demonic purposes are. They're aware, and then they try to engage in what is distraction, but that's prosecuted as a threat. A psychopath that wants, oh, no, look over here while you're documenting something. That's what the demon-possessed do, who know that you're documenting it. Anyway, I just want to document an ongoing sex offense that I remain subject to. And then the entity is molesting and invading with engineered light all day long for a criminal purpose. That's also a part of the sex offense. The ongoing incessant, unlawful touching, molestation of your person while they want to keep you under surveillance. All right, but I want to be clear. Carlo Lopez, this is just one, acting on behalf of an entity, present under the malicious guise of working for the same employer that I do, where the federal group stalking and monitoring is ceaselessly underway, which is why I have tons and tons of documentation of the state stalking directly in the specific environment and the state stalking vicariously through the people of the state who live here and who come to the who not only live in relevant position, but come in relevant position closer to engage in the criminal system. And while I'm physically indisposed, this sex offender is downstairs and knows exactly what I'm doing as I'm doing it, and is also aware of the fact that I'm documenting it, and can anticipate that this is going to be a matter of public information, and going for his prosecution, he's going to federal prison. And this is a psychopath whose mental instability is also brought into question based on his criminal pattern of conduct and that impunity and malice that is a part inherent to the P.O.C. and the repeated criminal acts that he engages in. All right, reference the documentation just last Friday. We're talking about, oh yeah, we're going to do this and and they're coming. We're talking about work, and the entity is group stalking by helicopter. And the ordinary target individual is subject to this ongoing mental torment and would likely freak out, would likely react in some way. It's not unreasonable. It's understandable. All right, when you're being targeted in ways that you may not even understand, but understand the malice and that the torment that's intended behind that type of targeting system. That's a psychopath. All right, that's a sociopath. That's a sick person that's acting on behalf of an entity. All right, and doing so against one person. What type of demented individual acts collectively on behalf of a corrupt government that's convinced that it's not convinced anymore. You're talking about a delusional entity that's engaging in ongoing provision of evidence, that's engaging in ongoing, nothing, irrefutable stalking, and in doing so is posing an impermissible threat. This is going to be a very profuse federal prosecution, in other words. It's going to be epic. All right, it's currently 8:19 a.m. This is P.O.C.